This is Red, White, and Bluegrass.
Dozens of parents, educators, and state leaders gathered in Frankfort to weigh in on Governor Beshear's Pre-K for All initiative this week. Some parents expressed their support, noting how inaccessible and expensive childcare can be. Local educators noted that far too many Kentucky children come to kindergarten unprepared. Some people raised questions about accessibility, and several called for full-day options, noting that eligibility means little without availability. Republican leaders also offered their thoughts on the initiative this week.
If we do not have strategies for scaling up this workforce as we're scaling up the demand and opportunity to become a part of an early childhood ecosystem, then we will not achieve the full potential that we can in Kentucky.
What happens right now during the summer? What happens to the child who needs daycare after 3:30? What happens to the second shifter parent?
Previous bills filed to fund universal pre-K have not moved far in the General Assembly. This was the first of 5 pre-K for all town halls scheduled around the state this summer. So Representative Lockett, let's start with you here. This was part of the governor's last budget proposal, but that's generally not gone very far in the past sessions that I've covered. Will this time around be any different?
I think it's important to kind of back up and say, I think this is a very important discussion. And I think whether it's child care, whether it's pre-K for all, it's a great discussion to have. I do want to point out as well that not one time has the governor come to the General Assembly to ask for input, to talk about this issue, to propose anything whatsoever. If he's serious about any type of issue, he knows we're right down the hall and that he can come and talk to us about that, but not one time has he done anything of the sort. Instead, he has chosen to go on a tour around the state, and I tell you, that's not the way to get things done in Frankfort. That's not the way to get a law passed. If you're serious about a proposal, we want to talk. We want to be partners. We want to be at the table as well, and that's how you get it done. You don't go around the state doing this without involving the General Assembly. So that's where we would say, let's start there with this conversation.
What do you think, Representative Roarx?
Well, I think it's important that we all are elected to represent our communities, and I think if this is something that we're hearing from our community members that they want to see, then it's really important that we listen. And we know we have a child care crisis. We know that our children are also showing up to kindergarten not prepared. I think it's said that it's about half of the kindergartners are not prepared on day one. And families are really struggling right now. And we have been presented data time and time again in our committees that are talking about this issue with how do families get back in the workforce after having a child. And it's a really big issue, and we have to start putting our money where our mouth is. I think it's said that pre-K for all, for every $10 that is returned to the state, it's a dollar that we're putting in. So, I mean, it's a huge return on investment when we're talking about families who would save almost $7,000 a year, and there's other families that would that literally just can't afford childcare, let alone if you can find high quality, good childcare to actually put your child in.
And as you mentioned, there is a shortage, and that's been acknowledged, I think, on both sides for a little while now. Let's rewind to the previous budget session. There was the Horizons Act that was brought forward by Senator Carroll, and that also didn't go really far as well. I'm curious from y'all's perspectives, what is the ultimate hesitance when it comes to more action on this particular issue? Is it the overall price tag? Is there a difference in philosophies? What do y'all think?
I think it's a lot of both. I think when you look at a price tag, it's very large. I think at a time when we are working to reduce the income tax, we are looking at everything across the state budget-wise. There's also a lot of different data there. There's a lot of things that say this, things that say that. We are working to enhance child care across the state. So we're not talking about just pre-K, the year before kindergarten. We're talking about all children. This is an issue that faces working families, and this is an issue that we are dedicated to working on.
Last word on this, Representative Roarx.
I think when the governor proposed it in his budget, last budget cycle, it was $172 million of investment. We have a multi-billion-dollar rainy day fund, and I think it's a really crucial investment that we need to be making into the families of Kentucky.